For 5 minutes.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, for holding this hearing. I believe this hearing is actually a forerunner to a much larger and aggressive debate that actually should be happening right now in Congress, and I thank you, gentlemen, for appearing today. Mr. Cole, you stated that the stability of Pakistan is key to the stability of Afghanistan. Dr. Kagan, you reversed it, or emphasized the stability of Afghanistan is actually key to the stability of Pakistan. So clearly we've got two essential variables in this geopolitical equation. What's the likelihood that those will converge in a timely manner for us to reach these objectives with minimum loss of life and with ultimately a sustainable Afghani society and a sustainable Pakistani society? The second question I'm going to have after this one is, what is the international resolve here? This is not a U.S. problem alone. You hear a few weeks ago several, I think it was 6 Italian soldiers were tragically killed, and I think it was the Prime Minister who said it's time to come home. You've heard some rumors perhaps that the Canadians are under reconsideration here. The British are sending in 500 additional troops. That's nice, but we're looking at the potential of 40,000 more. I want your perspective on what is the international community's resolve and why there continues to be this disproportionate burden sharing by the United States in light of what is at stake for stabilization, not only in that arena, but really for the future stabilization of not just Afghanistan, but the entire international community.
I'd like to just start by highlighting an interesting fact about the moment in history that we stand at right now, from the standpoint of a war that is a two-front war that occurs on both sides of the Durand Line. Pakistan has made remarkable progress in its fight against its own internal Taliban groups, which are connected in complicated ways, even though they're separate from the Taliban groups that we're fighting. And it's really, over the last 8 months, when you look at the operations that the Pakistan military has conducted in Bajor and Momand areas in the northern Fatah, in Swat, clearing the TTP out of there and TNSM out of there, now they appear to be mobilizing for a major clearing operation in South Waziristan. The enemy in that area has only one place to go, and that is Afghanistan. And they will find American forces and Afghan forces on the other side of the border able to address any possibility they might have of establishing a real safe haven where the Pakistanis can't get at them. Your question is very timely, but the short answer is, if you were going to pick any time over the last 8 years to say, well, this is hopeless, the Pakistanis won't do their part and we need to just leave, this would be exactly the wrong moment to do it, because the last thing we want to do right now is undercut the resolve of the Pakistani government to go after an organization that fundamentally threatens its stability and is linked with organizations that aim at us and threaten the stability of the entire region, right as they're gearing up to go after it and when they need our help to do it.
Thank you. Mr. Cole, did you want to respond to that? Plus, the other question is the international community's resolve in this regard.
Yeah, I agree
to share
with
the burden.
I agree with what Fred says, and I would only add that there is a discourse underway among Pakistani elites in their constitutional system about how to fashion their national security doctrine and define their interests. They created the Frankenstein monster of the Taliban in substantial respects. They're now having a debate about whether they should unplug that machine and try to normalize relations with India, modernize, join the international community. If they are confronted with a long-running Taliban insurgency in both their own country and across the border in Pakistan, they are unlikely to make the choices that I think are in their own best interest, but also in ours. So I do think it's a critical time, and I do believe that a stable Afghanistan is a necessary component of that evolution. International resolve has been, sort of zigzagging since 2001. The pattern is familiar. Anglo-American countries like Canada have taken more casualties per capita than at any other conflict in their history since Korea, I think is correct in Canada's case. The Afghan war looms very large in these countries, and I think in the case of the Canadians and the Australians and the Brits, we should be as impressed by their resolve as we are concerned about sort of the politics of easy defeatism in some other capitals. I do think NATO as an institution recognizes that its future and its interests lie in persistence if Americans are leading, and that if we do lead, we will find an adequate array of partners to get through this next 3 or 4 years.
Thank you.
Time, the gentleman has expired. The gentlelady from Texas, Ms. Sheila Jackson.